Welcome back, everybody, to Gringos Liberados. It is episode 11 of this current season. It's labeled Season 4 when RMC does the scheduling. I don't even know what that means, to be honest, at that point, but I trust him. He's more organized than I am. My name is Trajan. I'm joined by 4x4 and Rev today to break down Week 2 of the group stage of 2025 Split 2 here at the LTA South. We had some much more interesting series, I dare say. There were still some 2-0s, but a couple of 2-1s and some very close games, some interesting results, a little bit less cut and dry than Week 1. So, ultimately, it's kind of ended up still, I think, the way that we thought it would, or maybe just the way that we hoped it would, I think, for the future of South American League of Legends. This is kind of the blessed timeline, in my opinion. And we can see the group standings right there. Pain and Furia currently topping their groups 2-0, both at 4-1 game score. 4x4, do you agree this is the blessed timeline? Do you think this is the right direction for us, or do you think we still need to have Loud in there to keep Pain honest at the end of the day?
I think this is good enough. I think maybe if I wanted to see one more thing, and we are seeing stretches of it, which is why, broadly speaking, I agree with you, is one of IE or Lev coming back into the fold as a legit, maybe not even like contender, but as a, hey, this team's not going to be a pushover anymore.
Yeah.
And Yusura Sestral might have had, maybe, again, we'll have to see a little bit more of Leviathan, because the more I watch them, the less confident I am in them. But it seems like IE are heading in the right direction, and they, I think, had probably their best week since Split 1. They look like an actual team again. Summit, in that Game 3, the Gnar into Camille matchup, my boy Zafvi went back to Wi-Fi password. Summit fisted him. Yeah. They had a 4,000 gold lead at like 13, 14 minutes, and so much that was just off turret plates, and like 1,500 of that was off Summit.
Yeah, Summit cooked in a big way. It was just after we drafted 24 players, and I put my neck out for Zothri, putting him in at my last pick, and the one time my guy couldn't put up a normal game. Sadly, I did get pretty unlucky in that regard, as we'll look at the fantasy a little bit later and talk about that. But yeah, that was finally Summit got back to what people have been hiring Summit to do for years, and we just had not seen that yet for IE. But they managed to get him on board, which is cool. And Jose Diodo finally kind of remembered his past, and really activated. So yeah, we did get to see Yusura Sestral beat Leviathan, and we'll talk about that in a bit too. So maybe we can kind of, they've just gone straight down. They went up and then right down to the bottom, and now we're just going to gradually, hopefully, climb back to where we were, where they're a real contender, where the names on this roster are actually doing what names on this roster should do, and that's just going to be better for everybody, right? That's going to be beneficial for the region to have IE at least actually firing.
Yep.
So, with the actual results from that week, the first match was Loud versus Fluxu. So we get our 2-0s out the way on the first day, and then we get into 2-1s on the second day. Loud versus Fluxu was certainly Loud versus Fluxu, and to be honest, like it was more or less what we expected, in that Fluxu were not completely helpless and did not get steamrolled over by Loud. They went a good 20-25 minutes in both games, doing things, making plays, keeping the game more or less kind of within contention. But then, like, we get to the Atakan and objective stage of the game, and it's Loud. It's Loud, man. Like, it's not even that Fluxu aren't as good at that point, but it's just Loud.
I beg to disagree on that one, because I saw signs of Fluxus still getting better on the things that they already have improved since Split 1, right? Their early game was pretty good this time. When I say early game, I mean like the full early game. The first 7-8 minutes, what you can replicate every time in scrims, it was good. They were punishing mistakes left, right, and center. But then come the second Drake, they still don't know what to do. It's like they're always following a GPS and they're out of mobile data, so you're just getting lost on the map and blundering left, right, and center. So I see some improvement. It's unfortunately way too late for me to have any trust for this team. But if I was, I don't know, an investor or the CEO, I'd be like, okay, guys, keep at it. next split we're gonna be playoffs contenders, and from that point onwards we can keep building into a championship team. Flaxo right now looks like what VKS should have been last year.
Yeah. To be honest. Yeah, like the roster that shouldn't have the experience and shouldn't have the wherewithal to kind of put together that high level of play. And the individuals again are still solid, but that's kind of it. And I think we've definitely reached, in terms of results, I think that there's no real way for Fluxy to improve as fast as everyone else, just because we don't have the structure in place. We don't have like the leader in the team that actually has enough experience and leadership potential to raise these rookies up faster than they normally would. I think it's too much to ask of poor Fu.
Yeah.
So they're gonna still improve, and we'll see maybe if how the next offseason treats them, and into Split 3, which goes back to, what format do we do in Split 3? Do we go back to best of ones and then things, or do we do
That's
some
a good
sort
question. I knew at some
best
point.
of threes only?
And I forgot. So it is it is so it's the pick and play. All right, week 1 matchups are decided by Split 2 standings. Yeah, my mistake saying that in a tone of voice that like everyone else is gonna be like, oh yeah, for sure, yeah, it's like 4x5. You're just making shit up. I understand why you would think that. I'm not, but I understand.
It's true. Okay, tell us about the pick and play.
It's best of threes.
Yeah,
right.
So I think it's weeks. It is actually no best of ones. Weeks 1 through 3 are best of 3. Weeks 4 through 6 are best of 5. Top 3 go to the regional championship, where it's top 3 from LTA South and top 3 from LTA North, and then you crown your
top 3,
your champions.
The top 3 go.
Yeah, 3 from South, 3 from North. Yep, and
okay.
Yeah.
So it's 3 weeks of regular and then playoffs?
No. Sorry, no. 3 weeks of regular season. So it's weeks 1 through 3 are best of 3. Weeks 4 through 6 are best of 5, and then playoffs.
Are they still like round robining for those 4 to 6 best of 5s, or are they doing a playoffs bracket for then top 3 and then cross conference playoffs?
It doesn't seem like it. So for weeks 2 to 3, teams with the worst records select a team with a better record as their opponent. For weeks 4 through 6, team with the best records select their opponent. Elimination starts in week 4. 2 teams eliminated in week 4, 2 in week 5, and then 1 in week 6. So it seems like you're whittling it down. So it's not like
bonkers with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is gonna be really and like to the like I'm looking at this on Leaguepedia, right? And you scroll down, you're like, oh, maybe they'll have like some sort of There's nothing.
I have some sort of visual.
I mean,
to
you can really have a bracket there. I don't think you can really have a bracket because nothing is decided. It's
okay. Yeah. So I hope they all I can say is I hope they do that in the studio so that Titan can like go and pick Sayo by hand and be like, we're going to destroy you next week, and can like physically do it. That's what I want. Like, they're picking teams for dodgeball. That's what I'm hoping for this. Whether we get that, who knows? They'll probably like let the teams go home and think about it and then do it like presumably the day after the games are played or something. But anyway, so fine.
To your point, Trajan, you have to do this. I'm sorry. Like if you are instituting this system, you need to do it live. You need to have that be a public spectacle. Otherwise, it defeats the whole purpose of this, right? You want to manufacture this spice. You want to create additional stakes on the games, and you're like, I'd be right. Like there've been a lot of bad decisions made over the years. This would be one of the worst because it's a layup. Yeah, it is just so easy to
Yeah. Okay, so Fluxu, if they get to that point, I mean, the unfortunate likelihood is that they just get, after 3 weeks, they get picked by, Pain or whoever and summarily dumped out, which is unfortunate, but they do at least get 3 more weeks of best of 3s and then at least 1 more best of 5. So we do get to see something from them there, and we'll see how they can, what more they can do with the rest of the year. But for now, we'll track the regular growth, and maybe they get to the stage where they can start tripping people up in a serious way. Obviously the best of 3s will tend to favor the better teams to avoid getting kind of screwed over by best of 1s. But yeah, it was Louder certainly, I think, have cemented themselves for me as like this. They are now once again a real team with real strengths and weaknesses. They're not just like completely headless chicken, we don't know what we're doing with this roster and this organization anymore, like they were in like Split 1 into the start of Split 2, where it just felt like they just didn't know what was going on. But they seem to have remembered and returned to their previous vision of play. Shinny slotting in pretty nicely to take over the kind of the sort of trigger man position of decides what's going to happen, and then they all do it. And the strengths of Robo and Root and Tinens are on display once again. So we've gone back to where we were with Loud. I still don't think this is enough to win LTA South anymore. We got to the point where it already wasn't before we added in this change. So they've settled back into being top half threats, which is still not far away from first because we've only got 8 teams. But yeah, I don't know. Does anyone think that we actually have potential here to even if it means by the end of the year to like return to championship contendering? Like, do we think these players and this vision has potential to go further, or if we just kind of, like I say, reduced all the deficit and now we're just kind of stuck once again?
Well, not without change. I think it's not like I would single out any individual player. That's the burden of this team. There's no Birdle over here.
Hurdles. No.
But thing is that sometimes you can't get all of those cogs working together. You need some different cogs. You might need some role one. Like you said, Shinny right now is a trigger man. You might need a dedicated hypercar. You might need a dedicated weak sider, because right now I still feel like they are trying to do everything. Robo is trying to be both a tank and space creator, but simultaneously an early game carry. T-Nouns is trying to be the control mage player, but simultaneously play like a hyper carry at some points. Road and Redbird, I'm not even sure what they're trying to do. They're just existing at some points, and then they can play toe-to-toe with the best bottom lanes that this region has to offer, and then the next lane, they could pick a lane dominant thing and just go dead even, which is really, really perplexing to me, because it just looks like they're two solo queue teammates playing. There's no real cohesion in my head, at least. Like you have the lanes where you see them and you're like, okay, now we're doing something. Now we've had more monitors open, but then next game it's all starting again. It's like a roguelike from the bottom lane.
Yeah. It's a roguelike bottom lane. That's crazy.
There was a kind of on that note, there was an interview that I put it in the community Discord, but in case anyone hadn't seen it, there's an interview that Root gave where they asked him, like, tell me about your relationship with Redbird, good to have him back on the team.
Oh,
blah,
yeah,
blah, blah.
the classic. Yeah.
And he was like, look, Redbird, like, first thing I should say, I love working with him, right? He's a great person. I love living with him. Which, like, whenever a conversation starts with that, or that's where you have to couch it, right? Like, if it's like, again, if you're picking teams for dodgeball, right, and the first thing you can think of is, but he's a really nice guy, right?
Guy,
or like,
though. To be clear,
he's such a nice guy, right?
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, or if you're you're out at the bars, but she's got a great personality, though, right? It's like, oh, sorry, you're going home alone.
It's like starting, I'm not racist, but
yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, that butt is doing a lot of heavy lifting, right?
Nothing good's gonna come after.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And so he was like, yeah, but sometimes, like, when I play with Redbird, he'll make some plays and I'm like, wow, this guy sucks. Like, he's bad. But then he'll make some plays where I'm like, oh, wait, no, this guy's good. No, he knows what he's doing. And it kind of, like what you were saying, Rev, it's like, yeah, you kind of don't know which version you're going to get. I will say I thought this was one of their better weeks. But but I think and you need, kind of Trajan, to your previous point. I think if they don't get, I mean, like, I don't think if this team won LTA South, burn it all down.
Yeah, that's a wasted year, I think. If Loud wins.
I have a follow-up question for Whitehall. Was it one of their better weeks, or were they just playing with Flaxo?
Fair.
Always.
Fair. And Fluxu's bottom lane, God bless, is.
It's not.
I mean, it sucks. Last year, Marvin and Giggs were so good.
It's not.
They're exactly. They're such nice guys.
They're such nice guys.
Marvin and Giggs, God, they're such nice kids. They're good guys. Holy moly, is it rough down there,
dude? It's not
Giggs,
doing it for me, man.
Giggs had a standout performance on that Lulu until who was casting with it? I think it was you, right? For a while, you said a nice word for him. He had an excellent game, and then he got caught once, and the whole game collapsed.
I remember that. Yeah, you were taking the time to be nice to Geeks specifically, because you don't get to do that often, and he instantly ran it down. Like, he heard you.
But
Yeah, I did
maybe
all
it's just a
three.
meta thing as well, because
Yeah, I did all 4. Yeah, I forgot. I remember the Red Furia series.
Yeah.
But okay, goes to show you, if I did in fact cast that Loud
Forgot
Fluxu
it.
series,
Yeah.
I've forgotten it completely.
Didn't leave an impression.
No.
Yeah.
I still can't sit here and tell you that I actually casted that. I still don't think I did,
Wait.
but if both of you are saying I did, then
maybe I'm trolling.
I'm almost certain I did see you both on cameras at the same time at some point.
It was either you or
there was only
Bren.
one day. So
No, I think it was with Bren, and you came after for the second.
Yeah,
stream,
yeah.
Right?
Okay.
You guys through red. Yeah. So that's my bad.
okay.
He's fine. He's not going senile yet, guys.
Not yet, yeah.
So
I'm the one. I'm 30. That's fine.
yeah. So yeah, it just Loud with this team, Robo, Tinones, Shinny, Root, Redbert. This is just represents what came before. This is just the CBLOL team, and if they win, it means we've gone backwards. And we don't want to go backwards, and I don't think we're going backwards. I think we're actually going forward at a decent pace right now. So that's
They serve
just where
they serve a purpose though.
They
I think
do.
they're going to be they're a good benchmark team, and they're a good kind of, they're a good villain, and they are the aging superstar dynasty, right?
Yes.
That in any sport, it is so hard for like aging superstars to age gracefully, especially
Yeah.
in like the example that comes to mind for me is a sport like basketball, where it is 5 people on the court instead of 11. We can swap out more pieces around a team, right?
Yeah,
With soccer,
it's harder
for
to
instance.
hide in a 5-man team than it is in an 11-man team.
Right. And if you're kind of stuck on certain contracts where you're like, okay, look, we
Yeah.
gave Robo and Tinones and Root and Croc probably an obscene amount of money.
Yeah.
And look, you got your 4 titles. You did something no Brazilian team had ever done. You won 3 in a row. You won 4 in a row, right? We were dynasty. But this now isn't like, there's very little room to pivot, and you just kind of have to watch this thing slowly wither and die. But
Yeah.
I
They
think
are withering and dying more gracefully than BRTT did so far. And
holy moly, dude! Oh God.
all we have
Why
to
did you bring
do
that up, dude?
is hope that they know when to call it, because at least we
Yeah.
can say now they were correct to drop that I've got one more in me, another time around, because they are acquitting themselves. They're not useless. They are top half. They are taking, that they pushed Furia to 3 games, so made them work for it. They pushed one of our best teams. They pushed Pain to their limit when they played earlier. Like, they're still challenging our best teams, so they serve a good purpose. They are a good representation of the legacy of Brazil in the region, and they're giving their fans wins and good games on the regular. So they're still good, but we just need to know when it's time, and I hope that they know when it's time, because we are moving quite quickly. So we'll see about that. For now, they beat Fluxu. Good job, team. Good job, guys. Next, it was Furia and Red, the one that you did actually cast. And this was another 2-0 to Furia. And our big question coming into this was, this is the Aegis Red. This is the Red putting their top jungler back in here. Is it going to change it? And the answer is, no, not even slightly. Not even a little bit. Because Aegis got a little bit cooked, I'll be honest, by Furia.
I think the worst case for Red in this matchup was that they looked like a slightly better Fluxo. So they knew.
That's tough.
I know, but like, think of it.
And you may
like,
be asking, dear audience, how did they look?
Yeah. The thing is, like, they had some good early game moments, but it was like on repeat. Furia was doing the same thing whole split long, right? They were having a decent early game, sometimes blundering, bar from 1 or 2 games. Around the 15 to 90 minute mark, they looked for a fight around the Herald, around the Atakan, whatever, and they won that fight because they know how to do it. And it's like you saw Red Canids walking through the room and seeing pieces of candy and not realizing that, oh, there's a huge cage in front of me. What am I walking into? Oh, a piece of candy. Oh, a piece of candy. And that just looks like they haven't done any scouting. They don't know what they're playing against, and they're just looking to improve themselves. So it's exactly the same as Flux is doing right now, because you're looking to build yourself step by step. You don't care about the others. You care about your future. And that shouldn't be the case for Red, especially after last week, right? Because they've shown some improvement. They've shown some maturity. They brought back their superstar jungler, and now you're just letting it all, you're like throwing it over a cliff. And that was the saddest part for me.
Yeah.
And again, I have to bring up the point, which to validate what you told me, Rev, just a couple minutes ago. Is it that Red were showing improvements last week, or did they just play Fluxo?
Yeah, we had the warm-up game that you mentioned, right? We had the minor league experience, and then we come back in here, and we go up against the hottest,
an actual team,
most valuable fantasy jungler now in LTA, Tattoo, and that's what it looked like. It looked like he was going up against the best jungler, and he lost pretty hard. Tattoo was like 30 CS up as Xin Zhao against Lilia. Like, how are you gapping Lilia in CS that hard? That's not how that's supposed to go, man. Like, dude. So another big notch on the belt for Tattoo, to come at it from a positive spin, takes our kind of one of our two marquee junglers from Brazil's history and just completely steamrolled them, to be honest. I wouldn't say steamrolled Karaoke, that's not fair to Karaoke, but he's beaten both of them pretty decidedly at this point, and is fast becoming like just kind of the face of the region. Like, he kind of is, embodies what LTA South is all about personality wise, and is just putting up banger game after banger game. Like, there's just nothing not to love about the guy right now. So
no notes.
Exactly. Right?
Furia are such a good case study of how to, like, I mean, like, it'll be interesting to see what happens to Tattoo when he goes to a different team, right? Because, like, look, it's not to take anything away from Tattoo.
This Furia roster will never break up. My boys will never stop playing with each other, and my dream and my delusion will never break. 404. Come on now.
But he walked into an unbelievable situation. Look, again, you still got to execute, but you walked into probably the best run League of Legends Oregon, Brazil outside of Caden Payne. Yeah. And look, to be fair, you still had to answer some questions, right? But like this could have gone belly up, and Toots is playing out of his mind, right? Gigo's having a really good split. The bottom lane seems to be a little more consistent, right? But you took a gamble with Think Card. You took a gamble with Tattoo. I would argue Tattoo is a bigger gamble than Think Card because he has a track record of success.
Probably.
But you walked into a really nice situation. Again, I don't want to take anything away from him because you still got to execute. But like, I think all of Furia needs to be studied for how they are building this out, and how it seems like we haven't even, like, not that we haven't scratched the surface, but like, it gets you really excited. And I think, Trajan, you'd agree with this. How, like, what if this roster did stay together for like a couple of years, right? And we look ahead to cross-conference play. You have that continuity. You've got a bunch of these guys, right? Gigo and Jojo, they won 2 titles together on Red Canids. Tuts won a title, but it was the COVID Cup, so it doesn't really count for him. And it counts, obviously, but like, I'm sure he would like to win a more significant tournament.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love to win it live in a stadium, right? Yeah,
exactly, right? And you'd love to, and Think Card, right, goes from beating G2 in the LTA North to beating the LTA North and the LTA South, right? Yeah. That fires me the hell up. That gets me, even though I believe Payne are the better team right now and have a higher ceiling, Furia fires me up, right? Like you said, it's the story of what LTA South should be, is like these mechanically really gifted kids that if you put a little bit of structure around them and give them continuity and a space to constructively grow, make their mistakes, etc., you get Furia. This is the best story in the LTA right now.
It's a good question. The thing about Payne, I think Furia might be a better team right now, but that's debatable, right? That's easily debatable on either side. But higher ceiling is a good question, because when you think about people like Karaoke versus Tattoo and think about higher ceiling, it's so early that from what we've seen from Tattoo already, I think there's a good argument to VC extrapolate that through to like Tattoo becoming potentially better before too long, even with Karaoke putting on a blinder split, which he absolutely is. Like, I think it's probably fair to say that Weiser ends up higher than Gigo on that scale. For me, Romer is hard to say because he's had a much more moderate start than...
it's been up and down.
Yeah, right? So it's hard to say what the potential truly is there, and especially as a Korean import in South America... The track record on these...
The expectations is higher. You're going to be judged a lot harsher.
The expectations is very high, absolutely. And the track record is mixed to bad on that. Like, a lot of the time, they just don't end up working out. And then IU versus Titan is another question that, like, Titan absolutely still sits on top there comfortably. but like he's had a good 4 extra years at it, you know, like how long's that going to last? If IU is now in this good environment with ThinkCard at the helm of it, is this just what we needed for IU to finally get to the point that people were saying he was at 2 years ago? So I think there's a very interesting question that's going to be answered through the playoffs for Split 2 when Fury and Pain, I think, inevitably wind up facing off again. And we'll get to speculate about who has the higher ceiling in the long run for these guys. And then, yeah, for Red, I like that we saw the Zoe out of Margot. I like her. I hate Zoe with a fiery passion. I quite like seeing it in LTA South. I think, like, we can see from Tinones every now and again, like, in the past years. And, like, I think it's quite a fun champion to watch for competitive because it's so, like, explosive. And so affects the fights in such, like, a big, specific, unique way. Obviously, like, yeah, playing against it in lane, like, no, uninstall my game. But I think it's quite cool to see him pro. And it's just pretty neat. So that was cool. But
Mago had himself a really good week. I think that this is the most I've liked Mago since like he came right in like that first Akali game. He was solo killing people inside lanes on things like Corki, right? Like yes, it's a hyper carry, but it's not like this crazy outplay champion that you kind of associate with like what you brought Mago in for. But before it felt like Mago was trying to put out fires while the rest of his team was trying to do something else. And maybe you'd look at Mago and say like, oh, maybe you should be with your team right now. But the rest of the team was just sitting there with one thumb up, with one finger up their nose and one finger up their you know what. Yeah. And Mago was like, guys, I can't do this right now. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's like, oh wait, I can't help you. Great, let me go to the bottom lane and kill somebody. Well, let me go to the top lane and kill somebody. Let me invade the jungle and pop somebody. Mago had, I think, a really good week.
Yeah. It showed more what he's clearly wanted to try and do, but it was a much more he's sanding it down and polishing and refining that vision into something more that works more often than not, as opposed to failing more often than not, which is what we saw before. So I like that we're still seeing a cohesive through line here, but it's getting a little bit better. People were pretty down on Corki. I'm like, man, this champ sucks, bro. Just like stop playing it. And there was like a time around the Baron, I think, where Margot tries to like flank IU who's Jhin ulting, and Jhin IU just completely like out damages him in a just like not even close kind of way. And I was like, I feel like that's not how that's supposed to go. I feel like Corki's supposed to be able to walk up to melee range of Jhin and win that, but he didn't at all. And I was like, maybe Corki is bad. maybe Twitch chat's on the money with this one. Rev, I don't know if you think Corki is legitimately useless or if you think it was just like a crit chance kind of artifact, but I don't know. You think this champion's over?
I mean, it depends on who is playing the Corki, right? Because if you're Furia and you wanna just explore the game minute 18 and have it done by minute 28, it's the perfect champion for you. Like 2 items strong, you look at an enemy person and they explode kindly just because you look their way, and then you know how to end the game, then fine. Are you somebody who doesn't know how to push past the second tier tower? No, never. Just get some scaling, dude. Just get something that if you blunder 4 times in a row, you can still walk up to a wave. Just make sure it evaporates, get all that cash, become stronger. It's a mid-range, mid-game assassin. Mm-hmm. It's really good if you know how to accelerate the game afterwards, but I'm looking at those teams. 1.5 knows how to do it. The rest don't. Yeah. So just don't pick Corki.
Yeah.
He agrees.
Hopefully something else for Red. For listeners, will have probably heard Rev's cat having an episode in the background, just completely freaking out for absolutely zero. But
no, you see where he got his hatred of Corki from, his owner.
yeah, he was didn't want to hear about.
He heard his owner talking about Corki, and he's like, "Let me tell you,
not Corki.
I can't play Yumi into that."
Yeah. The other weird kind of draft artifact that I want to quickly touch on before we talk about day 2 is we saw 4 game 1 red side Scions. Every single series was game 1 red side Scion in this week. What Rev? Why are we all picking red side Scion now? Like, it's not even like cool, interesting Scion. It's just like I'm just picking. It's like, are we countering with Scion? Are we blinding just early with Scion? Is that the value here? Like, what's this for?
I mean, I think it's okay. So lane swaps are over. So you'd think that Sion loses half of its influence, but like
Yeah.
lane swaps were the worst case scenario for Sion because you were there just to lose gracefully, right? Sion is a lane bully into most champions. He can survive most champions as well. The thing is, you're gonna get outvalued on the side lane. You are just a very, very slow space creator, like a worse Renekton in a fight, but a tankier Renekton in a fight. In the lane, though, who can beat Sion? Like, reliably. Who can outdamage his Q? His Q is kind of insane. Who can go through his shield? Who can go through his health when 10 minutes in he has an extra 1k HP, which is, how much is that in gold value? It's something like 1100 just for free, just because you're last hitting. And I think it's pretty fine as a blind pick, especially since I'm seeing a lot more support counter picks. That's why I think he's getting drafted in red side and usually R2, R3, where you're kind of hoping for the enemy team to not instantly counter pick you, but you get to have a couple of bans, maybe like get away with a Rumble or I don't know, the Gwen, and just feel safe. Thing is, almost nobody's playing front to back. All of those fights are so disconnected, so incohesive, that I feel like the Sion is just there having the what's his name, the actor from Grease, and from
John Travolta.
Yeah, they're just having the John Travolta meme, like,
Oh yeah.
where am I going? In this
Walks into the
fight?
apartment and
Yeah. Hang on, guys. Walks into the team fight. Like, where's my team?
Yes, man.
Fight.
Old saying.
Guys, come back. I have no gap close. Please help.
Yeah, like it's interesting to see as well that on the first day it lost both games and on the second day it won both games. The first day it's played by Fluxu, a team that can't cohesively front to back. Red, a team that is increasingly failing to cohesively front to back. And then it got a win with VKS, a team that is trying to cohesively front to back. And IE, a team that is also its strength traditionally when they win games is by effectively playing as a 5 in front to back. So it's like if people know what to do with this pick, it can win games. It's but it does seem like we've all decided it's the way to go for now, which is weird. But let's talk about day 2. Let's talk about our 3-game series. And the first one, Pain VKS. We just got to the point where we were done giving VKS benefit of the doubt into a game like this. And then what happens? They win game 1 in 42 minutes. They almost win game 2 in 40 minutes. And then they run out of juice and Pain manages to take them down 2-1. So have we just forgotten to put some respect on CL's name? Is that what we've done here? Have we just gotten a little bit lost?
I mean, I was the biggest VKS hater.
You were.
And I kinda am still post 35 minutes because like game 1, yes, you did win it, but you had on multiple occasions over 9k of a goal difference and you were still blundering and losing 2k of it just to regain it minutes after. So there's still something inherently broken in how the team wants to take advantage of their gold leads. But I color me impressed because all of those early to mid games you were playing versus hypothetically one of the best team in the region, right? The team that finished first, and you were challenging them fist to fist, and in macro, in the macro department, you were playing pretty good League of Legends. And if you just knew how to end games, I think this could have been the cleanest 2-hour series we've seen so far. So I am very impressed from VK's progress. I'm just, I'm seeing this Michelin star dish that's missing the sauce. If you find the sauce, VKS might even be contender for the split.
It is without the sauce. We do love the sauce down in LTA South. 404, what is your read on VKS? How excited / betrayed should we feel that they've decided to be good now?
I mean, they are another really fantastic story because it is a big I told you so for CL to be here and like going toe to toe with Pain, and doing what he's doing. I will say because I agree with you, Rev, that like in game 1 it was kind of painful to watch them try to close that out. And in game 2, the fight around Dragon that they lost was just such a disaster. I don't even like that. To me, I think can be fixed. And I've seen them team fight better than that. I think Pain just kind of that was a bit of an experience gap for me. Again, I watched that one back, so like I maybe I need to watch it a couple more times to see like exactly okay, well, how did they get into that state, blah blah blah. But like, I'm very happy that we have another serious kind of contender because if it like look, it's great that Furia are a good challenger because they're a great story, and if there's anyone you want to go toe to toe with Pain, you want to be someone like Furia, but with Cade as well, right? They're a development success story. They are clearly, I think, that right there, they're our third best team right now. I don't think that's too crazy.
Yeah.
It's not Red. Yeah. I don't trust Loud as much as I do Cade.
Yeah, it's not Red and Loud.
Yeah. Right. I hope that IE can supplant Loud for that fourth spot, which is crazy for me to say because Rev, if you don't know, I've been I've been the biggest Loud homer on this podcast for like years.
Just like I've been declaring them dead every split for the last like 2 years straight.
And part of it was just like again because like for all 4 titles that they won, they never finished first in the regular season. So it was always like, oh, surely this time not, and every time they just like they're like a they're like that infection that just won't go away, right? You should have gotten it checked out by a doctor, that, but you thought they with just some soap and water. You could like, nope, you needed penicillin. You needed penicillin the whole time. You can't do this with soap and water. And that Pelson was named Pain Gaming.
Yes,
but,
it was.
Yeah, I'm happy that I'm happy that Cade are legit challengers. And yeah, I think they've taken a bit of like the page out of Furia because I think like Furia as well. Sometimes it pains me to see how slowly they can struggle, how slowly they close out games. I felt that. I don't know if I verbalized that on the cast with you, Rev, but like when they were playing against Red just to me looked so effing hopeless that entire series. And there was one, maybe both games where I remember thinking, again, whether I verbalized it or not, but I remember feeling, dude, you've got a 7K gold lead. It's 30 minutes in. These guys cannot team fight you for beans right now, right? FNB on this Aatrox is 0-5. You smash him into the ground like a railroad spike. He cannot hurt you right now. He is not real. He cannot hurt you. And it took them forever. Now, I think what will be interesting with Cade is if we get to a moment where that ends up biting him in the butt, right? If they pull a Fnatic from that finals a year ago where they go up 10K and just lose and just chain lose to G2, right? Then I think there's a more broad discussion to be had, but I feel like right now it hasn't really bitten them in the butt, or maybe it's selective memory, and you guys can, jog my memory on that. But I feel like it hasn't really bitten them in the butt yet. But I do agree with you, Rev, that like I think the difference between a team like them and a team like Pain right now is that Pain are explosive and they have that killer instinct to put teams away. Because when you get to the LTA North cross conference, if you have that 5,000-6,000 gold lead and you don't know how to effectively put a team away, they will come back and beat you because they are simply better.
Yep. Like TL will find an opening, FlyQuest will just outvalue you across the map until your lead has disappeared and nothing, you don't know where it went, like it's...
I'm not sure about TL this split, so let's see.
Let's see.
Split, yeah. But I mean, who was sure about them last in Split 1 when they came in, limped in 4th and then won the whole cross conference, so,
True.
Just so they could dash everyone's hopes again at first stand. But VKS... I really liked what we saw from Kissy specifically. I thought this was a great series from Kissy. Put up some great numbers. Has been performing really well in the mid lane. To be fair to Romer as well, I thought he had a much cleaner series. There's less like obvious what are you doing moments than we've had in the past from him. So both mid laners I think acquitted themselves really well. But I think VKS again, they kind of just got back on track for me. Like they had that off couple of weeks maybe, like end last week of positioning phase where they botched super weak, super hard. And didn't look as good in the first week of groups, but they've got back to where they were on this journey, and they had a big stumble, but they're back on the path where the individuals are there. Desamis, we've always known this. Kissy, for sure. Bowl, I think, is still performing better than I expected. It's not like blowing the roof off top lane, but it's solid top laning from Bowl, and I can't really be mad about that. So
nope. Not from Bowl.
Yeah. How do you feel about your boy Trimby, Rev, having what we've seen so far? Because we had that big Bard game, which was big memes in game 1, and it seems like a player that you bring in to like help your team get on the right page and like find your way out of tricky situations and lead them through like later games. But how do you feel like Trimby's kind of performing on BKS so far?
I mean, he was the tricky situation, especially in game 1. Like some of those ultimates were, kind of harsh to look at. But but I'm trying to put it into perspective, right? Because what's Trimby's role? And it should be the leader and shot caller. You look at his camp, he's constantly yapping. You think he's casting the game like on his own. So I understand like the support role kind of carries this responsibility as well. But if you are trying to micromanage for other people, then of course you yourself are going to be looking a little bit worse. And I think that might be the case over here. Of course, I am not like completely forgiving all of his sins. I know that he's better than this. Or at least was better than this. I don't know how washed he actually is, but this might be the case. And especially in this series, I'd say that VKS did not return to the previous form that at the start of the positioning phase. I think that they were better than what they were in the start of Split 2. So I can see that, hey, I'm playing shit because I am playing 5 different PCs right now. I am micromanaging everyone. I'm playing C5, and unfortunately, this is a unit that we have to sacrifice. If that's the case, I think like he's fine right now. Okay, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Some of the drafts were kind of hard to play, like the Rakan one as well. But there are also like draft issues there. There are no perfect picks at all times. Is he blowing my mind? No. But is that his role is my real question. And I understand that I may sound like an effing hypocrite here because I was out there with my banhammer really judgmental of other people, and I'm not here on Trimby, and I can accept that. But I really do think that he might be the brains of the whole operation.
Yeah, it's certainly what they picked him up to be. Right?
Yeah, because you drop Pro Delta, which is a young player that still, I think, struggles with like managing and decision making at key moments, especially later on in the game. And you bring in someone who's experienced, who has won a title in the LEC, has got a lot more, has had worked with CL before, right? Like someone who should be able to kind of enact the vision that VKS has a lot more effectively, I think. So certainly good to see VKS back on track, and that we're not just gonna crash out continually, because that's just not good for anybody. And we can potentially comfortably put them back in that third slot and see what they can do later on, because challenging this way to Pain makes me very excited to see how they do against basically anyone else. I think they should be able to put out good numbers against them. So Pain still did take the win. They are still pretty much our top team, more or less. We got to see a little bit of Lucian without Nami as well. We got a nice little Lucian Brom from Titan Curry. They then lost, but I guess it's back to Nami for you, Curry, so unfortunate. But yeah, pretty solid from Pain, and yeah, specifically from Roamer. I think I'm very happy with what Roamer did in that series, so that was a good step forward. And the last series of the weekend was Levi, and we set it up as the toilet bowl, as 4i4 would call it, as if you want to come and watch some rip-roaring, just horrendous fist fights in League of Legends form, then this is what we got. We got a 2-1. IE, though, came through, validated Rev calling the 2-1 nice and early in last week's podcast, and then I joined him on that train. So big dubs for the predictions for us. But let's talk about what this really means. So IE with the 2-1. They win game 1, they lose game 2, win game 3. Where are we at with Leviathan now? Because we kind of teed it up before. We're a little worried, and every week we get a little bit more worried for us to like, where are we actually going here? Like, can somebody grab the reins and get this one back on course? Because it feels like we are straying deep off the path.
Yeah, I mean, look, it seems like Jose Deodo has to be that guy, and when he doesn't do anything, things get dicey. I don't know. It makes me nervous whenever we see Pantheon jungle, because it just feels like there are other picks that will do what this champion does better. And look, it was picked in game 3 of Fearless, so I get that there were certain options off the table. Sejuani and Maokai were permabanned, but this champ just feels so useless. I understand that the base damages are high, and you have certain things in your kit that allow you to pull off crazy dives and just be a little more damage resistant and oopsie resistant early on. I think it's awful. I freaked out when I saw Cody lock in Xerath, because that champion can be so bad. Yeah. You have no escapes. You have one, and like it's all skill shots, one form of CC. But actually, I mean, I'm looking at. I pulled up the damage charts from the game where he played Xerath. He actually did the most damage in the game. He actually did the
Yeah.
second. He did the most damage on his team, second most in the whole game, in a losing effort where Leviathan got nothing going in that game.
Getting 2 assists and no kills, managed to do the most damage on his team, which is impressive.
Yeah, and maybe that's just a Xerath. Like, look, it's a bit of a stat pad, right? Like, so damages and everything, etc. But like, yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I didn't think Pro Delta had a particularly impactful game. I think his stock is starting to fall a little bit. He and Scary, right? They were kind of the shining lights in Split 1. I feel like they have not been able. I mean, they haven't been able to lift Leviathan to their previous heights, at least not as consistently. I worry a little bit for them. I wonder if they maybe they'll make some sort of coaching change for Split 3. But I could also see them not, because again, they're not fighting for their spot. Whereas IE are. That is the big, the big relegation guillotine hanging over all this, is that Isurus Estral will be fighting against the top teams in Circuito Desafiante in the second division. Whereas Leviathan can just kind of coast like this for a while. But outside of Fluxu Leviathan right now, no, Red Canids exist. Leviathan look like our third worst team.
Yeah. It's
No, but the real question is which is the actual group of death now? Because I remember we did write off Group A last week in the podcast. We're like, okay, it's completely cut and dry. Pain is better than anyone else. The rest are like a bunch of kids playing in the mud with a tin can for a ball. But now everything's kind of switched around, right?
So next,
not fully convinced of Loud.
The next matchup, so VKS don't have to play. Isurus Estral get another week. So they have to go against Pain and VKS now. So we've seen them finally put together a winning series against Lev, and now they have to go against Pain and then VKS. From what we've just seen, who are in that last series pretty evenly matched. They already played VKS?
They played Cade already. Yeah, it's just one match left for everybody, so they've got Pain left.
Oh, so they did. Yeah. So it's just Pain. Okay, so they finally managed to get their stuff together, and now it's time for Pain.
They essentially have to better IE's result, and IE sorry. Wow. IE and no. Cade have the slight advantage. So assuming the tiebreaker would go down to
game score first, right? And
then game score exactly. So they Isurus have quite the mountain to climb. It would be a stunning turn of events if they somehow vaulted into second.
So the thing is, you really, really want to be in third in this group, because that means you get to play against Fluxu, because Fluxu is going to come fourth in the other one.
Exactly.
So you need to come
the one
third.
seeds play each other, the 2 seeds play each other, the one where it crosses over and 3 plays 4 is in the 3-4.
Yeah, if anything, Isurus Estral kind of has the easiest possible matchup of anyone if they can get third. Whoever comes third in Group A has the best round 1 of anyone in the next stage. Obviously,
congratulations, welcome to playoffs.
They're starting on elimination, unlike the winners, but they do have, in theory, what should be the easiest match to play. So they if they can just hold on to this, they should be okay. It really just depends on whether Leviathan can, because even if they do, Isurus will have the head-to-head over them forever, right? So Leviathan can't get better than third, I would guess. Or do we do game score before head-to-head? I'm not really sure. So we'll see how it shakes out, but Leviathan, for their sins, have to play against VKS, so they're not going to have an easy one either. So this would likely be the locked order of this group, this Pain, VKS, Isurus Estral, Leviathan. But I think the big takeaways from IE for me biggest is Jose Diodo, as we kind of teed up, finally had just a really great series. 9-0 Nefiri, even on the lost game in game 2 where the rest of his team absolutely folded, he still manages to go 8-5 and drop some big points and get a load of kills on Jack's jungle of all things, and then wraps it up with the Lee Sin game. Pops a pro Lee Sin game. He's back, man. Jose was so back in that series, and that's what I've wanted to see for weeks.
Jose being back is a necessity for the truly blessed South American timeline.
Yes.
The Brazilian timeline is in a pretty good spot right now. The South American timeline needs Jose Diodo at the peak of his powers. And whether the team around him is good or not, I think that's kind of secondary, because I think it's not an equally compelling story, but if you can see that Jose Deodo is smurfing despite the team around him, that's cool. But if the Jose Deodo is smurfing and the team around him gets to where they need to be, that is also cool. But you need a main character for LATAM, especially because Leviathan aren't even like the fun team anymore. They're just kind of like
a bit sad.
They're the team.
They're Red Knidzing all over the place. They're just like, I don't know what to expect, and this team makes me sad and scared.
Yeah, it's not so hot, but so I mean, Leviathan, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Like you said, they're likely going to end up in last, which means they'll end up playing against presumably Red or Loud in their next matchup, unless they even if they beat BKS, they might end up there. That could be interesting because there's still plenty of attackable flaws from both of those guys, so we might be able to see Leviathan exploit that through the individual heroics that have gotten them wins so much in the past. And then for IE, if we actually have summiting, which is a pretty important prerequisite here, if we have Jose Deodo back on top and able to actually put numbers up while still being kind of the centerpiece, that leaves kind of Mirio has always been solid, not insane, but solid for me. But the big question was the bot lane, right? We had big questions about Snaker and Ackerman. RMC was like, drop these guys, get a new bot lane. I was like, drop these guys, get a new bot lane. Like, they actually put some decent games together. So maybe they're just ready to at least prove their worth. I think for sure, at least they've at least proven their worth to for a little bit. They can stave off, the wolves at the door here. But going up against like Morteus and Trimby, if they can do this against Zayo and Pro Delta, I would expect them to be able to do decently against Morteus and Trimby. Like you've got to be able to compete against.
If nothing else, that's the next step. That's the next step you have to take.
Yeah, we'll deal with we'll get to Titan and Curry later, right? We don't have to deal with that straight away. Let's start with Morteus and Trimby, and we'll work up to Titan and Curry. So yeah, just kind of at the point where we're starting to lose hope for both of them. IE manages to pull it around Leviathan. They do at least get one game win that doesn't look bad. Like they managed to put a solid game together at least, so they've still got it in them, but. Yes, it will be who gets the pleasure of playing Fluxo in the first round and who has to go against chaotic Brazil.
That hasn't Snaker and Ackerman played versus Morteus and Trimby? They have.
I guess they did already. I keep forgetting they haven't played VKS. It just completely blanked
you tricked me into it.
I refuse to acknowledge that they've ever played them. Yeah. So they are actually, going to go and play against Titan Curry. But if we can see them, just do
survive.
What they did do what they did before, which was survive. And that's all they had to do, because the way IE works meant they didn't have to do more than that. They weren't carrying from the bot lane, and that's fine. Not everyone has to carry from the bot lane. But they couldn't even do that for a long time. So we shall see if IE's bot lane can stabilize and how they do against Paint, because let's actually look at Fantasy very quickly before we look at the schedule. So the big headline from this week's Fantasy is Lunar Day has been deposed as first place. She has finally been caught by Dark Knight, one of our other vets of Twitch chat. Leapfrog Lunar Day, putting a little 15-point gap in there. So
also 07 RMC.
07 RMC has been once again dropped out. I think he's in 6th right now. He's just down there somewhere, 6th or 7th.
I'm right behind him in 7th.
Yeah. And we have Rambling joining the top 5 with Paradox climbing to 4th as well, and Ray just behind. So yeah, the fans are mogging us in a pretty big way. It must be said. It must be admitted that the fans are heavily mogging us as a talent team. But yeah, we finally have a changing of the guard right now. Now, obviously, we cannot imbue Dark Knight with the powers of the bet with the proxy for the bet's purposes. We'll have to go back and check the wording exactly. But we are still striving to catch Lunar Day. But it has been proven to be possible, at least. It is proven to be possible. Despite the fact that I kept Jose on my team for every week since the start. Watched him fall.
And now he started playing. Oh my god.
Watched him fall from 16 points to 8. And then I finally dropped him, swapped him out for Shinny just in time, who had an okay week. And Jose
was fine.
dropped a 26-pointer and puts up 3 insane games, chooses this moment to return to glory, and I just invited disaster on myself by dropping him at this stage. I've got no one to blame but myself.
Trajan, if it makes you feel any better, I would have done the same thing.
Oh dear, man.
The curse is real. I'm just like, thankfully, like finally, I'm not the only cursed one in the broadcast team. Like,
no.
Thank you guys.
I've been pulling for House for years, and he's not even in the region anymore. He's not even in Div 1. Like, you know,
he lives on in the name of your fantasy team.
Yeah, like the tier 1 players that I've thrown my weight behind are Annie, relegated to tier 2, House, relegated to tier 2. At this point, Jose finally picked it up, so there's hope for this one still.
Still technically might get relegated to tier 2.
Still technically could get relegated to tier 2 because he has to go into the promotion relegation for the guest slot. So, you know, it's not good, man.
If Azure Ancestral get relegated, there's no way, like, unless Jose wants to stop competing, because he is, you know, a little. I mean, he's still actually he's not as old as I think he is. I have to keep reminding myself of that. But surely, Leviathan turn around and go, "Hi, how would you like a disrespectful amount of money?"
Yeah, would you like to play in tier 1 still, perhaps, maybe?
Like, surely Jose Deodo, like, he'll find some tier 1 spot, right?
Does anyone else? I mean, I'm not gonna
God bless Scary, but if he continues on the kind of slow downward trajectory he's on, and you have the means to replace him with Jose Deodo, surely you do that.
We'd probably take that one. Yeah, I'm not gonna include Fluxy W7M because it's just like we don't know what's going on with this organization, let alone the roster. So like, would they take Jose Deodo over Ganks? Yeah, but
I don't know if I'm even walking into that one.
But like, what is there a universe where we end up with like loud Jose Deodo? Like,
ooh, that would make me
how'd you
hot and bothered.
That one? How'd you feel that
honestly,
in a good way.
Honestly,
Dude,
I
that
think
would be
the most blessed universe would be Red Jose Deodo.
Yeah. Do you think Jose could save Red? Do you think Jose could
I think they would need some other roster tweaks, but I mean, like,
he could save the mental. Have you seen that smile? Like, he's always there.
That's true, actually. Every pregame, without fail, he could save the
every
mental.
postgame as well. They get slapped like 20 bombs on them. They're like, you see the white pearls. Like, they are a moving commercial of some very good, I don't know, toothpaste and toothbrush company.
He could do it, man. He could do it. Absolutely. So yeah, Jose, if anyone wants to invest, sadly, you've missed the boat. You've gone up by 2 points clean this week. So, alas, I think I'm still at like 395, something like that. So we're still in the bin. But we shall see how this develops again, as we'll see if Dark Knight can hold on to that as well. To be honest, it's a pretty thin margin, and we know that fantasy is a fickle beast. So small change that we've seen, but good to see that it is assailable up there. Now, schedule for next week: 4 more best of 3s. Last week of the group stage. Last week of the groups, and then we go into cross-group battles, which I guess still counts as a group stage, which will be the seeding matches that we've been discussing a little bit. So, Pain versus IE. Yeah, we'll see what IE can do here. Pain are still looking good. VKS give them a real challenge, and for sure they've still got some stuff to iron out there, but Pain IE is... we're expecting, once again, the Pain win, I think, but... who knows, man? If Jose's alive, like I say, if Summit's back on top, if IE can do what they did in Split 1, that formula can work.
Yeah. Yep, you got a top laner who actually gives a shit now, and the rest of the team is still the rest of the team, right? I really need them to be a top 4 team, though, dude.
On paper, it has to make sense. It must make sense. Like, please, we have to get back there. I mean, does anyone want to give IE a game here? Does anyone want to be bold and give IE a game? Or, I mean, you can give them 2 if you like.
I don't want to, but if someone else wants to.
I mean, no, feel free, guys. Feel free.
Politely, after you guys, please. Like, I can't go first.
Would you? No, he would.
No, he would not. He's just for kitty. Is he very, very sleepy, or is that an illusion of the camera? Because it looks like his eyes are closed.
He's just extremely cuddly when it comes to me, and that's the only reason. That's the only actual time he doesn't carry a resting bitch face, because he's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know IE suck, don't they? You know they're terrible, don't they?
Yeah. Some it's bad.
Some it's bad.
Some it's still bad.
He's washed. Okay. Following that is Lev VKS, which is kind of just like the Temu Pain IE. Like, it's just like our slightly worse Brazilian team versus our slightly worse LLA team.
I mean, I'm willing to give Lev a game.
You'd give Lev a game here?
I've seen VKS drop
I don't know
balls.
if that's crazy, but my heart agrees with Rev here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. We're all on 2-0 for Pain over IE, but I think I could see VKS. I would go 2-0 VKS still. I think that they'll shut it out, but I think a game win for Lev is not the craziest thing of all time.
Yeah.
I want to see Lev win a game.
Yes.
I don't think I'd like to see them like completely topple Cade, because I think Cade it is a better thing for the league if they are on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
But I would like to see Lev have a game where, because even in the game against IE that they won, and even one of the games that they lost, I think they we got the fun Lev early game. We got the oh shit, they're just all over the map making doing crazy stuff, and they're up 5,000 gold, and then it all just goes pear shaped. But
Yeah.
like we need to have that version of Lev there. I mean, I would love to see them converted into a win, because I think Furia have passed enough. If they've passed the vibe check, Cade haven't passed the vibe check just yet.
Not yet.
But they have a chance to this week, and I don't know that they will for 3 games anyway.
No, I couldn't see that. On the Sunday, I mean, if no one objects, I'm just gonna skip Furia Fluxu, because I mean, like, what is there to say about the inevitable 2-0 of Furia Fluxu?
I mean, no, no, okay, I'm joking. I want to go.
Yeah, I know you've got hot takes, but let's not.
I saw
set
the panic
fire
there in
alarm
your eyes, though.
oh my god, he's got opinions on Furia Fluxu. Okay, so Loud Red. Now this one is real. This is real good. This is real good.
Astro banger.
Astro
this
banger.
is going to be a rock fight. This is going to be absolutely wild. I would say Loud 2-1, but you could give me all 4 iterations of this result, and I'd be like, oh, okay, interesting.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, it's the Levi of the Brazilian side.
Yeah, this is the Levi of. We've got our
that's actually that's kind of base. I think we could put that one.
Yeah, we like to just put regional grudge matches last on the weekend is what we're doing now.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, this is good. No, everyone's been lulled to sleep by Furia Fluxu, and then you go get your meal, right? You make your food downstairs. You have your phone sitting there, and then you go, oh wait, it's Loud Red. I might actually watch this, or at worst, I'll second screen this.
Yeah,
right, while I play Expedition 33 or something.
Yeah, I would second screen this no matter what I was doing. To be honest, yeah, this is always good content. That last Red series just really didn't make me feel good about Red. Doesn't make me feel like
that was the worst I've felt about Red. I think literally ever. Honestly,
ever in my life.
Seriously, because when they were winning championships, and even when they weren't, there was because they were always even before kind of Aegis and Grefthar kind of came back, right? They were always kind of when they had Envy, right, on the roster, they were a kind of consistent 3rd, 4th place team. They never looked hopeless. Red right now look kind of hopeless. I am deeply worried for Red, and I have a soft spot for them, but I think this is the worst they have ever looked.
Yeah. I think it's probably still better than the Bowl Avenger roster. By a little bit. Just a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Rev, if you would like to predict this match.
Okay. No, I'm not feeling hot on either of those 2 teams. Of course, a week is a hell of a lot of time to get things going. I proved that. So I'm gonna my brain can't decide. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the Pokemon side, because Loud is the grass starter and Red is the fire starter, and I always preferred grass starters because F Charmander.
Yes,
we're not doing
overrated.
Type advantage.
Overrated. Okay. No, I don't care about type advantage. Give me that Bulbasaur, man. I'm full of Bulbasaur merch. One of my cats is named Bulbasaur. Look, it's Loud 2-1. I'm giving it.
Wait, one of your cats is named Bulbasaur?
Yeah, he's
that's
fluffy.
hilarious.
Green?
No. But I only have a Polaroid here. Let me Not sure if it.
Nice. Okay, nice.
Oh
For
my
for the
goodness,
viewers, they
your
get to
cat's
witness
name
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur.
It gives very dead wife energy, but you know.
Okay, okay. Jeez. The lore on Rev's cats goes kind of hard, I'll be honest. It goes kind of hard.
If we had like a Patreon exclusive section of the podcast, that's what we would tease. We would tease Rev's like the intersection of the last few things he said. We're gonna dive deep into that for 15 minutes. You pay $3 a month. Congratulations, you get to join that conversation.
The Rev's cats iceberg we would do on the Patreon.
See how deep this shit really goes.
It goes very deep. It goes very deep.
Yeah. Okay. I think that Bronze and because like Aegis from the jungle and Bronze will not be as well challenged by Loud as they were by Furia, so I think Red, and just because the way Loud just don't have as oppressive an early game generally, mostly speaking, the Xin game happened, but on average, like I think that Red are going to have the space to actually achieve something early, and when, like they'll just do some crazy stuff and it'll work out, at least one game, and they won't be as challenged, whereas Furia just do not leave the door open for that kind of silliness. So I'm gonna give Red a game and say Loud 2-1. I was close to just saying Loud 2-0, honestly, because I like U404. I'm just not feeling good about them. And Loud, like I said, they feel like they really do have gotten back to a consistent vision of what they want to do. But Red have beaten Red beat old Loud when they were both doing the same thing. They've just got some different players now. So
a better version of Red beat a better version of Loud.
Yep. So the stylistic matchup, I think, is still holds and will at least give one for Red. And if they 2-1, like you say, 4-4, any of the possible results, I think a 2-0 for Red would surprise me. But
that would be the most surprising.
Any of the others, I'd be like, yeah, cool, that's reasonable. And then whoever, has the honor of playing Leviathan in the third, fourth matchup. Both playable, to be honest. Both playable. So 404 to confirm. Are you a 2-1 Louder? Are you a 2-0 Louder? Are you completely done on Red?
I'm a 2-1 Louder.
2-1 Louder. Okay.
Yeah.
So we are in agreement here across the games today. I think, more or less. Yeah, I think we're 2-0 for Pain, 2-1 VKS. Did anyone 2-0 VKS?
No.
Yeah, we'll give him a game. 2-0 Furia, and then 2-1 Loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So we're all in agreement. We'll see if, the players and the games have any relation to what we think might happen, as is often kind of a fool's errand. But the last thing we need to do is take a look at our question from the mailbag from Lunaday, from the podcast, from the Discord here, which is, let's dig into this one. So she said LTA and LCP, I think she means LPL and LCP, do a version of Fearless where they have 3 bans each, blind pick 1v1 for side selection at the beginning of regular season best of 3s. Do you think that would help or hurt LTA adopting that practice? I mean, as a first part of this question, I think that 1v1s for side selection rules. I think it's cool. I think it's sick.
It rocks. I agree.
I think
it's
it does.
sick as hell.
I don't know what possible downside you could claim that it has over coin flipping or whatever they currently do. For
time only, I think it's only time. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't really, I feel like, help in any sort of scenario. Like it doesn't help you more to develop your skills, because I think anyways, all those people play 1v1s and 2v2s just to warm up or as practice, but it's so much content, especially when sometimes you feel like those teams don't really care about side selection and they whip out all those weird picks because they want to play both sides or whatever, they have prepared both sides, and it's extreme content. There is no downside there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hard to agree. The second part of the question is interesting, though.
Yeah, adding to that, do you think allowing the teams to field a designated 1v1 player should be looked at positively, or have a rule where the 1v1 player has to play game 1? I think that is interesting. I've not heard that kind of mentioned before.
I do think in the current financial climate that esports exist in, if you are paying someone
pay another salary,
even league minimum to just be the 1v1 dude for side selection, you have too much money. You should give that to UNICEF.
Yeah,
you should give that to me. You should give that to Rev's dead mom cat energy, whatever the hell you should give that to Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
it would be a better use of your
because like kickers in the NFL, right? Like they are used a lot compared to a 1v1 side selection, and their points are hugely important often. So they have a one role player that only comes on to do one thing, but it's a very important thing that has won and lost Super Bowls, and games every week. So we can't be paying for 1v1 players unless you event a new minimum just for them to be paid to play 1v1.
What if we tweak it then? What if like they also have Fearless and you have to play 1v1 for side selection for every game of a best of?
So you can choose side selection potentially every game if you win all three.
Yeah. All 5 games or all 3 games.
That'd be actually crazy.
Would you then have a designated 1v1 player? Like, especially, there have been metas, and I'm thinking of Worlds where blue side is so much stronger.
Right?
You see teams
for sure.
have 80% win ratio on blue side. So would you then pay like minimum to a guy who's crazy mechanical on, I don't know, 15 champions?
Yeah,
just as a 1v1 player.
Get you side selection every game. And generally speaking, like every single patch, every single meta, people decide what the best side is and then choose it almost every single time.
Yeah.
Sometimes teams at lower leagues will have like a specific, we like to be on red side, or against this opponent we like to be on red side for whatever reason. But generally speaking, people just work out what side they want every game and they'll get it every single game they can have it. That would be funny, actually. Of course, that's even more time because you have to do a 1v1 every single time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're not beating the time wasting and gimmick allegations. That being said, I think for like I feel like there's a place for it. I don't know what that place is or how you implement it
separately, so that it doesn't affect the main stage setup, and you can like be setting it up ahead and before of time, so you can go straight to it, straight in 5-10 minute 1v1. Not even that. A lot of the time 1v1s do not last that long, and then you come back to the straight into draft, right? And like the coaches just have to prep for both sides because they don't know if they're going to win 1v1 or not. And that's funny.
You can even start to see the Nexus push it to just picture in picture 1v1 starts, like start the draft until like the boundary picks or whatever. It's already decided.
You think like the coaches would revolt if they weren't given time to like know what side they were going to play ahead of time? I'd be like, well, now
they probably would freak out.
I think they'd freak out.
But you're already like preparing for both sides in the best of, because you don't know if you're winning or not.
But once you know the first side, your plan. I guess you need to prepare for other ones.
Yeah.
So you can't always know. Wait, so like if you win like in best of threes, they don't just like swap every game, right? Does the loser pick the side?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, loser picks, and usually it ends up swapping because, like you said, the game one,
they'll pick the one that's good, and the other team will pick the one that's good. Yeah, fair. That would be interesting, to be honest, a side select every time to just force coaches to have two side draft prep and like doing it every single time, and that would more justify the 1v1 player as a specific role. That would actually potentially be a way of making it viable. Having them where they like have to play game one, I think is fine as well. Like you have to play, because some of them do 6-man rosters anyway, but you just have it where one of your players does it, as the LCP and LPL do it, where it's just one of your players just goes and does it, which I think is a perfectly fine setup that we currently have. But generally, I think anyone who can do it should do it. I think it's fun. Like, everyone really loved the All-Stars 1v1 tournaments when they ran All-Stars. Like, that stuff got a lot of attention and engagement, and it was really fun to watch. Like, I miss All-Stars. So I think there is a market for it, and it literally, there's just there's no downside if you schedule it. And they managed to effectively shave like 20 minutes of between game time once they just decided that's what they wanted to do. Like, it's possible, it's doable, but you can even just reassign some of that time to the 1v1, which still requires casters and analysts to cast it. You can even just have the analyst desk cover it in a more casual way. That's the way I've seen it done at like lower level leagues, because it's not as rigid of a format. It's not the Summoner's Rift necessarily. So you can kind of talk about it in more of a, like, you could do golf commentary on it as opposed to league commentary. Like, you can still talk about it, but you don't have to necessarily like cut to casting desk and then cut back to analyst desk for draft and then cut back to casting desk. Like, you don't have to complicate
we cut down on delays.
Yeah, and it gives everybody some lights and sounds, and we all know viewers love like the sounds.
Our monkey brains love
yes, for their sins, they love League of Legends, and it's another League of Legends game to put in front of them. So I think that would be cool. Designated player, probably not positively, probably not financially viable, but if we do rev side selection every game, that would be pretty funny. I think that would be sick, actually. And then you can have like a separate like sort of legislation around that interacting with the salary cap if you want to for a 1v1 player.
Yeah.
But it's doable.
Yeah.
So I think
in the MLS here in the US, we have a salary cap, right? Because it's an American sport, but we have what are called designated player slots. So you get 3 players. I don't know if it's unlimited, but basically it's like, okay, every team gets 3 players where their salary does not count against the cap. So you can bring in your Shakiris, your David Beckhams, your Kevin De Bruyne to Chicago next year or whatever, right? Because you could not pay him. Yeah, well, that is actually the only sport that does not have a salary cap.
Whoops,
so,
oh dear.
Yeah, shoot that one, but that's okay because you know what, my Detroit Tigers are operating on a fifth of the budget of the big teams, and we have the 3rd best record in a 30-team league. So get bent.
I'm impressed that it took you managed to restrain yourself for so long from us doing this podcast before you managed to get your pitch out for the Detroit Tigers. You've been very powerfully restrained, and I respect that. Yeah, I respect
they're having a wonderful year. They're one of the best stories in the league right now. It after the past decade for Detroit sports has been pretty dog shit. Right now, it is a great time to be a fan. So much so that I'm this is a temporary tattoo, but I'm playing around with them to see kind of like spots for a potential tattoo. Yeah. So exactly. So we're playing around with some spots, right? This is not an ad. Inkbox.com. They have really good temporary tattoos. They're $20 a piece. Pretty sweet. They last for 2 weeks.
Nice.
And they go away.
Any final thoughts, Rev? Do you have a Detroit sports team to plug before we wrap it up? Or
no, I mean I watch proper sports, so I watch Euroliga in Europe, so had to plug it in a little bit, but no, I will keep it for another podcast, maybe for the Patreon exclusive, as I pet my cats like a supervillain. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we will have to wait to hear the final thoughts, the start of the next episode, perhaps. So you have to tune in. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We will see you on Saturday, Sunday at twitch.tv/LTA South. Usual time, Saturday and Sunday, for a couple more best of 3s to round out the group stage before we go into cross-group battles. We hope to see you there. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at LTA South. Join our community Discord to talk about fantasy, talk about the league, talk about the games, talk to us, talk about whatever you want within reason. And with that, thank you all, and we will see you on the weekend. Peace.